Thank you. I have one more question for you, Mr. Berman, before I give it to other people. This pavilion bar that's serving food and drink, I have a problem that there's no bathroom there. Is that a possibility, or is there a possibility that you don't serve food there and drink there and just use it as a bait shop, which I don't think would require?
It could potentially be a possibility to allow restrooms there if the permitting process allows us to do so. The process, the permitting process, whatever that process would entail. We would absolutely entertain the ability to have a restroom in that location.
Great, thank you. Okay, anybody else have questions?
Yeah, on the,
Can you get closer?
I'm sorry. I guess one would get closer. See, I'm blinded now. Okay, on the, we talked about there's 4 locations where there's going to be bars, alcohol served. How is the area where those patrons are allowed to go control on the whole site?
So the restaurant is pretty self-explanatory. You need to be in the restaurant there to be a patron. The pool lounge bar is only for marina and hotel guests only, and it's fenced as a pool is required to be, as well as fob access, and also monitored by the pool attendant. The rooftop bar, very similar to the restaurant bar, there'll be a checkpoint there as well as, basically you'll have to be a guest of the restaurant or of the roof, of course, deck to be served on the rooftop. The pavilion bar will as well be a fenced-in secure area around the perimeter of the pavilion area, if you will, separate from the public access. So you'll leave the public access walkway and then enter into the pavilion area. If you choose to go there to get bait or whatever, you can do so, but there'll be more of a kiosk, if you will. It won't have any walls on it per se. It's really a pavilion with a roof that will be temporary equipment that will be rolled in and rolled out seasonally.
Now, will packaged goods be sold there, so somebody can pick up packaged goods?
You
at
could.
that pavilion?
You could, yes. If a boater came in and would like to pick up a 6-pack and
Because
it's a bait, they could.
it's kind of like, it's a pretty crowded intercoastal through that area, to be selling alcohol to go out. I don't know if that's a good thing, bad thing.
We could revisit the packaged goods element. If the board saw fit that it wasn't a smart idea, we would consider that.
Yeah, the packaged goods, and even without the restroom, and you have a bar there for serving sandwiches, there's a certain amount of waste disposal, so you have to have some sort of soil lines going out to service that bar. You have ice, you have sandwiches, there's going to be, and no restroom facilities for them to go to. I mean, there's a possibility that can be eliminated or just made into a bake shop for people passing by and not the alcohol.
So the pavilion bar is unique. There's some really great models like that down in the Maryland area and down around St. Michael's area, where it's really a destination for the boaters and more importantly for the locals. You want to ride a bike there, not be in the restaurant or on the roof, but you want a casual, laid-back kind of Jimmy Buffett atmosphere. That would be the destination where you would go and not have to go into the restaurant because you wouldn't be allowed in the pool. So really the only real local, bikeable, walkable, friendly place would be the pavilion bar with regards to flip-flops and tank top and just hang out and watch the sunset.
Yeah, I kind of more envision the boat yard all of a sudden where people come in, they're parking, and it's just a crowded, party atmosphere, I guess. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's what Beach Haven kind of wants, that boat yard sense.
Understand. The concept of that would be, it would be closed down, shortly thereafter dusk. It would only be open during the day. It would not be something that's going to be open in the evening hours.
Is that a limited number of people in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. We could have an area that would be, we could agree with a certain amount.
But that kind of, and then the bar at the pool area, will that service an area inside the marina, boat shed? Will it be outdoor served to the indoors toward that boat shed, or is it strictly the pool area?
Just strictly the pool area.
Okay. And then those areas are all controlled, because I guess on the boats, when people have six packs, we're not mixing those control areas. That be correct?
That is correct, yes.
Let me see if there's any other. And I guess, and I wasn't here, I guess, I listened to a lot of the older tapes and think the whole discussion was made, but some of the initial reports, I guess in some of the documents I read where the original approval for Morrison's restaurant was, I think 132 seats plus 20, I have 20 outdoors, included a seafood market, ship store, gift shop, 3-bedroom apartment, and a public bathroom. How does that same footprint grow to 400 and 200? And does that still meet that capital permit that was issued?
So we do have our CAFRA expert tonight, but the footprint is in fact the same footprint as the old Morrison's building.
That is the exact footprint?
Exactly.
Okay. And then, I guess you have your expert there, whether that permit allows for,
Reconstruction.
yeah, for obviously the larger, taller building. And I guess one of the other questions that might be a professional on the plans, I guess to me they're not final plans. There seems to be a lack of dimension with how the building fits in the footprint as far as dimensions and setbacks. And also grades on the, in the parking area, there seems to be a lack of proposed grade and existing grade, so how that all is going to grade. And the concern being, I would surely like to see the water collected before it goes over the bulkheads. And I'd like to see some sort of water quality in those parking areas before it's discharged. I think we have water quality on the rooftops, which is clean water as far as I'm, I don't know where that has to go into some sort of tank system before it's disposed of. It doesn't make sense as clean water, especially if the data better. Water table is so high, it's not going to recharge as far as recharge. It's just going to go out with the tide. So I don't see the purpose of that, but I think water quality on these parking areas, I think, would be, to me, a key element. And I guess somebody can address whether we can accomplish that.
Any other questions? Ken?
Mr. Vernon, during your peak operation, what is your maximum amount of employees?
So on our busy holiday week, we'll probably have as many as 80 on site. In any given shift, we'll have as many as 150 employees on the roster, but on any given 8-hour shift in those peak times, we'll have as many as 80 people on site.
So at the switchover, you can theoretically have 160 people crisscross.
No, not necessarily, because those 80 will be there from 3 to 11. That'll be the crunch, per se. The shift before that and the shift after that might only be 30. Or that's the nighttime shift. Or
Okay, out of the 80 people, the J1s, I believe Ms. Jenkins mentioned prior, the J1s and the other people from the maid service, what percentage of those 80 people will be shuttled?
what percentage of the 80? So the big,
I mean, trying to get a sense of the people that are going to be shuttled. How do they? What percentage are they of your employees?
so, and that depends on how many folks you get from Beach Haven. First and foremost, the kids at Beach Haven will be given opportunities as well as the folks at Beach Haven to work there, which would be a big plus because those folks hopefully are walking or biking or getting dropped off or our shuttles going out and treating these people. similar to the other restaurants that do in the area. Those other folks, let's just say it's 20% were fortunate enough to get of those folks. Maybe it's 50% to 60% of the remaining number that would be brought in basically through a bus or a shuttle service. The J1s don't leave; they stay on site. Basically, they live on site. We have a house for them locally or actually within the hotel.
So what I'm trying to get to is the impact of the non-shuttle, non-bike riding employees that was referred to, that they're not going to be allowed to park on site, they're going to have to park elsewhere. I was trying to determine a number. What is the impact to elsewhere? So where are those 20 people going to
So
park?
when we say on site, we mean nowhere in the neighborhood. They are not permitted to park anywhere in that vicinity.
How in the heck are you going to monitor that?
That's all done through contractual and a zero tolerance policy. They do it in the old days. Basically, some of the older restaurants did that. In fact, basically that's why the valet, you gotta remember, the valet guys are gonna be out there greeting the people when they're walking up, or basically they're gonna get to know our staff. And if it's this important to us, we're going to enforce it and we have to back it up. We have to have shuttles that pick people up. We have to go to their homes. We have to have a drop-off zone in Manahawkin where most of our housekeepers will be shuttled to and from.
I gathered that essentially it's going to be down Delaware and 2nd where your valets are going to be. So if they park, I don't know, a street over, practically, there's nobody's going to be able to see them. I mean, you're not. And they can just stay there. I'm just trying to get a sense of the impact, that's all.
Sure.
So it looks like 20 cars maybe?
20 cars will be coming on site to park.
Well, 20 people that are not riding bikes, that are not being shuttled in on your peak, I don't know what you call it, peak, but
Sure.
on your maximum amount of employees, you're gonna look at 20 people entering your facility with vehicles.
Sure. I think it's our intention to bring that down to a net zero number or as close as we can. If this general manager has a car, probably. There's 4 or 5 other directors, cars there, yeah. But the nice thing about these holiday weekends, the fish tournament, Memorial Day and July 4th, we know what's coming. So the idea would be we plan for it well in advance with extra shuttles, mandatory drop-offs, head counts, attendance. We know we're in the wedding business, so we have an idea on the impact of 200 folks showing up all at once for a wedding, how you handle valet, how you shuttle, where your caterers are parking, where your food and beverage people are. We take that to our experience to here at Beach Haven, and it's our mission to basically know those pinch point weekends are going to be a problem for all of us unless we really think this out and we are overly zealous on detail on making sure those people park on site and we enforce it. So our intention is to have next to 0 cars on site, other than 4 or 5 of the directors and the general manager.
Your gas tanks, where are they going to be? Are they going to be above ground, underground, and where?
So that has yet to be determined. Will either be underground or above ground next to the travel lift. I think they're showing the site plan next to the dumpster, actually it's in front of the dumpster. So currently we are proposing them to be underground, and that'll be something we'll have to work out with the EPA and also our rate operator. But we'll have the same fuel and diesel selections as we do today.
I don't have a vote, doesn't affect, but I just want to make sure it was safe.
Sure.
I just have a couple quick questions. I'm just trying to understand the flow of everything. So I'm pretending I'm a guest coming in. I'm coming down 3rd Street. I'm checking into the hotel and I'm pulling into that area right there? Okay. And you have the valet people there. So now, tell me what happens. I get out of my car and where do I walk?
Okay.
Where's the
So
sidewalk?
you're staying for a 3-day weekend. You're probably
Yes.
checking in on a Thursday, okay, or a Friday. Okay, there's a 3-day minimum. We're going to enforce on the weekends. This is your point of contact. Our valet will greet people in here, and this will be a lay-down area. This is where the cars will be staged, and then the valet will take the car from here, basically. Basically a valet attendant will take them their luggage and whatnot from here while they either check into the room or go to the restaurant to do what they need to do. The concept would be this is where the staging area is for the valet to fill up these lots, the back lot over there as well. So during the day, this will be our high impact area here. The marina guests as well will be asked to valet. So our valet schedule, this is a standard parking procedure right here, with the parking counts as shown. We also have a valet plan that basically allows us to expand this based on how many people we're expecting.
So I get out of my car, where am I walking with my,
So
go check in,
sidewalk
where's the
right-
sidewalk?
Yes, there's handicap sidewalk right here, so you'll get out of the car here, you'll enter into this pad, and walk up along here. It's kind of like a country inn concept, where you check in here, but if you've already pre-checked in and got all your assignments, you don't necessarily need to. The other nice thing is you can walk down into this area, along here, then there's a walkway along here, which brings you along the dock, all along here, and brings you back into the restaurant. You kind of walk into this area, or go into the areas where there's elevator lobbies. So honestly, this is the entrance area, the point of contact for the valet, then we'll have your bags brought up with carts along the water, great walkway. We prefer walking people into the input of the marina, where the boats are on this side, beautiful entranceway, hotels on this side. We'll enter them into the courtyard, and up into here is the elevator system, or we'll go into this side door, depending upon if the rooms are in the back of the hotel or the front of the hotel.
Okay, so now I'm pulling in and the MAB waste is there.
MAB waste.
Or one of the purveyors that pick up garbage. So he's there trying to pick up, where does my car, just because you only have one way in and out of the property, that's why I'm asking a couple things, just to get to the bottom of it.
Of course, so the intention would then be that if you have a dumpster here and he's dumping the dumpster, the nice thing about a dumpster is our dumpster company, the scheduled times can really be, it's usually early in the morning, so not to conflict with check-in. However, if this is a stage area, typical area, maybe there is a Sunday delivery or something like that back here, then we could have the valet basically just come out here, park the car here, intercept the customers here. This could be another lay down area until this truck cleared, and then we can either figure out where to get in the rear.
And same with the fuel truck, I'm just, just thinking about these
So
things.
the nice thing about a fuel truck too is it's scheduled deliveries, and the volume of fuel that we hopefully purchase will have some leeway to be able to, basically, it's a tank.
And do they come often, or not really?
It all just depends how busy you are. They haven't really sold a lot of fuel here at Marston's because BJ Marina sells a lot of fuel because their prices are so competitive. This is more of a convenience for most of the boat owners here. That's why they want us to keep the diesel and the fuel, which we have every intention to do.
Now, if we move up on the plan, can you explain a little bit more about the whole pavilion area out there?
Sure.
Do you have any, out there on that, do you think boats are pulling up along the north side of that bulkhead?
No. There'll be no boats tied up here. It's not our intention. This is not something that really is, I mean, the experience we have with this kind of outdoor pavilion kind of bar, where it's really just a sunset bar, it's really, believe it or not, the majority of people here will be walking or biking, or they'll be local to a hotel or marina guest.
And no floating dock out there?
There'll be no floating on this side, no. That's a channel that runs back into these homes.
Oh, the loading, real quick, if we go down to, for just the restaurant and the bigger trucks for deliveries, and it's great you're gonna have somebody on site, like I said before. Is there any way to control, that person can say that there's no stacking of trucks on that Second Street or all the parking is, meaning like when you have, unfortunately, they all come at once. And so how are you going to manage that?
Sure. So the nice thing about our delivery receivers, he'll be here basically receiving most of the stuff for the restaurant, but he'll be on a headset radio with the valet captain over here. So if we have another truck coming in here, we can stage that truck either over here or off to the side and let them know it's okay to pull over there. At that time, it's all about the communication. The availability of people on the street, clearly labeled as attendants, is monumental in how this project is.
So you're not gonna let any big trucks be blocking all the cars or anything out there in that public area?
Not if we have attendants that can immediately address the situation. Most of the time, it's when the guy gets out of the truck, goes to look for somebody, and the truck is idling, and no one knows where he is.
Vernon, I have just like a general question about the hotel and the restaurants. And I'm just trying to get a visual reference, if you will, on how this project compares to the Hotel LBI in Ship Bottom. So such things as, I think the room count is the same with that hotel as this. Is the building square footage the same in this project as it is in Ship Bottom? And general height is the height higher on that building versus this one? If you can just make a comparison of the two, that would, I think, help everybody understand visually what this is going to eventually look like.
Sure, I think a simple analogy is, it's about 2/3 of the size. The hotel rooms are just a little bit less, or a little more than half the size of a hotel LBI room, as well as the square footage of the hotel. There is no real common areas in this hotel. It's 3 stories of residential. There's no other than a hallway and the elevator tower. That's where we took the ship store model, softened it. It's a longer building, more reception, country inn model, where they can congregate, wrapped around front porches and a garden there as well. The flower garden is included. As far as the height of the, it's lower than Hotel LBI.
By how many feet lower is it?
I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I think we're 44 here. Yeah, I think we're 43 here. I don't know, but it's higher at the hotel because we have a 3rd story and then the elevators go on top of the 3rd story. Here you only have a 2nd story with the rooftop. We did not take advantage of the rooftop of the hotel here. We did it at Hotel LBI.
I mean, just in general, you're saying it's about 2/3 of the physical size of
Yes,
that building.
comparison.
Where are the people that park their boats in the marina, where are they supposed to park their vehicles?
So that's equated in the parking legend originally under the original count. So there are going to be parking in the main lot, but they will be valeted as well.
Okay. And then also, looking at it from a fire standpoint, are you going to have like fire pumps on the marina side? Because obviously you can't get a fire truck around in there. And maybe out on a finger pier, any thoughts on that?
Yes, we have some of this tonight from the construction fire expert. We did meet with the fire department, our chief, and basically they had requested a fire draft that will allow them to draft in the bay, as well as, basically the hotel is fully sprinkled, the restaurant's fully sprinkled, and we'll have standpipe connections for the fire department as well.
We had an employee of both the last time in the Marston's department, so we had the Coast Guard out there with portable pumps. So I can't, that's tell you enough how much it's important to have pumps on that side. Not just a standby.
It says here, the building is described as being 17,540 square feet. But it is unknown as to whether this rooftop area is included in the calculations. Do you know the answer to that?
You're going to testify before you leave.
Very technical.
Do you swear testimony about the truth?
Yes, I did.
Your name and address, please.
It's 124 Beaver Drive, in Laurel, New Jersey.
And we swore you in and you were qualified last month.
Yes,
Okay.
professional engineer. Yes, that number does include the rooftop square footage.
Okay. And while I have you, what is the material in the parking area under the hotel?
That's paved,
Pervious or impervious?
that's paved, yes.
Pardon?
Paved, yes.
What kind of pavement?
It's right now it exists as asphalt. The asphalt concrete.
It's not going to be pervious pavers, that's my question.
No. That has the roof drains that be caught captured from the roof, so underneath it, there's no water.
Okay. Any other questions?
Where the cistern is going to be for the birth drains?
In the garden area.
Brilliant idea. So old it's new again.
There's a question here about visibility. It says the redevelopment plan states that all buildings shall be designed to ensure that public access to the marina remains unimpeded. There remains visibility from Second Street and that the Pennsylvania area of the property be available for parking and for winter storage of vessels. And that you would provide testimony regarding how the proposed buildings and improvements meet these conditions of the redevelopment plan. It says the testimony should include specifically regarding visibility from Second Street, as well as any signage and other means that are proposed to advise the general population that waterfront access and restroom facilities are available for use. I did have a question about the two handicap parking spaces under the hotel. Is there a sign outside coming down Second Street to indicate that there are handicap spaces under the hotel?
We can address that.
Do you want to address the visibility?
So with regard to visibility on Second Street, so in one of the design elements, the building was originally designed, we met with the architectural commission, with the borough, as well as initial meetings. The idea would be to allow for carriage house type garage doors that would open basically 7 or 8 months of the year. So as you walk down Second Street, you'll see through the garage and then into the back of the fishing charter boats, as well as the vestibule areas that, basically there's storefront doors there that you can see directly through the parking garage to the other side. And that was the intent of breaking up the building, if you will, which will allow for a visual shot through the buildings.
And you have that.
We do, yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
The lighting for the parking lots. Do you kind of know where the lights are going to be? I don't remember really seeing a lighting plan.
I think there was a lighting plan on the site plan. And then we had, the example.
Where would they go? I mean, I don't see sidewalks too. Maybe I missed that part of it, and I apologize. But there are no sidewalks, really? Like, are these not traditional parking lots?
So some of the lighting will have landscape lighting throughout the walkway to address the sidewalk, but will comply with any norms with regards to site lighting.
Yes, sheet 16 has the lighting. Sheet 10 shows the signs for the indicated spots under the, in the garage.
Yeah, I see them there under, I just want to make sure there's a sign outside, because if you're coming, you don't know that there's any handicap spot.
The plan set, that's,
Yeah, there's no external signage on Second Street that says there's handicap parking available in the garage.
We can agree and we'll add the additional signage as required.
But Bonnie, isn't it valet though? I mean,
What? And it's valet? Nobody.
seems like everything's valet now.
Good question. So the valet would be through the busy pinch points and on weekends when needed. Off season, it'll be a self-park environment, so the sign would be needed.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. What percentage of the rooms in the hotel are going to be ADA compliant?
So it's required by construction code. I believe it's 6 or 8% of all rooms must be roll-in accessible showers. Everything's at a certain height, wheelchair accessible height. The pool area, the beds are lowered slightly. So I believe it's 8 rooms.
So it'll be like 8 rooms?
Yes, there's a certain code, building code requirement.
Okay, there is a code for that. Because I don't think we have a lot of ADA compliant rooms in the existing hotels in Cambridge.
Really, all the rooms are,
Okay.
accessible because you have an elevator, that basically takes you up into all those.
Well, you have the elevators, but door sizes.
Door sizes and the grab bars and the showers and around the restrooms, there's a certain number by code we're required to have. I believe it's 8%.
Okay.
So do we have an answer about the parking lot? Meaning, like, are they striped or not striped? Maybe I missed some of that.
So all the parking
I'm
lots,
sure there's like a plastic thing that just,
identifying parking lots, basically these are all seashells and we'll have recessed bollards, whether it's a plastic bumper that's kind of recessed, that identifies it as an area where you should park.
but no lines. Like,
No
there's
lines,
valet
there's no
zone.
lines. Because you wouldn't be able to move those lines tighter or put additional cars in there if needed.
You can't strike them.
No, I hear you. I just said it's not valet, it's not in there. What's the order? I guess it doesn't matter. It's awesome. And so you don't need to build sidewalks and parking lots? Maybe that's not a thing?
So if it's valet, no, not necessarily, because you're getting out here, your area where you're getting out.
No, I meant when you actually, like, when you go, maybe not in the normal redevelopment, then when you build a parking lot in town, outside of a redevelopment agreement, doesn't it have to have certain requirements?
There's no minimum requirements for sidewalk in our ordinance. So they're
but
providing.
you can have a parking lot without a sidewalk, so we don't need to do that.
I guess it's clamshell parking and with designated spots. And basically people will park and walk through the parking lot. I mean, we do have parkway lists and so forth that require that. As far as the two-way bylaw width and so forth.
And the lights won't get in the way, it's about, like in that lighting plan of the parking layout, I mean, are they tall lights?
So the lighting plan has been submitted, and I don't know what you did receive, but they're all for the size of the parking lot, not to prevent any different alterations to the parking layout.
And will they dim down at a certain time so that?
There will be those lights as well, yes.
So they're not completely that great.
There'll be proper wattages, that's the ordinance, but they can go up and down depending upon if it's late night when you quiet down the marina, or if it's bright and you're valet and folks there, you want to brighten much easier, provided we comply with the lighting requirements.
Anybody else have any more questions? Mr. Vernon or?
May I ask one additional question?
Sure.
Did you, to follow up on a question that you were asked a moment ago, did you make arrangements to meet with the fire official to review the plans for the hotel?
We did.
And when did that meeting take place?
I think it was a few months ago.
And what were the results of that meeting?
They asked for a draw hydrant from the pit.
And in order to address Mr. Vettle's concern about getting around the back, there are devices you've spoken about with our fire expert. to address
Yes,
the
there are.
topic. And you're prepared to use those, and we can explain those later.
Yes.
That's all I have.
I have one more question. Your bathrooms, are they open to the public or just the people at in the hotel? They're open to the public?
The bathrooms are open to the public by the ship shop, the ship store.
Ship store
and then-
over-
Yes, right here, this is our ship store, the bathrooms are there,
The ones over here.
right here, right by the guest house.
Right.
So if you have a visitor come in by boat, or somebody's on the dock, and use the bathroom, they will be.
What about what's over here at the end of the hotel?
Here, this under,
Right there.
right here. That space is, that's not the extent of our property, this
Now,
is,
next to the green space.
forgive me, I'm sorry.
To the left of the green space, the old green space. No?
Right here are the other bathrooms,
Right.
and the showers for the marina guests, as well as the pool guests.
So the only public bathrooms in the whole property are by the ship store.
Are here by the ship store, and these will be also allowed to be used for the patrons of the pavilion.
Of what?
The pavilion, they have to walk with them. But there'll be, basically, a tenant will be there, pool attendant will be there, there'll be someone there from the wash staff, maintaining those areas, basically.
parking spaces there. Or
Yes.
waiver for them, correct?
Yes.
Is that, are those parking spaces the same as the 29 required when it looks like they're on your property also?
Yes.
That's it.
For the pavilion, what are the code requirements for restroom facilities? Is there a number of people? Is the fact you're serving food, you need to have restroom accessible?
You swear to testify your mouth, which be the truth.
Yes.
Name and address.
The question is, any restrooms in that building? The requirement is by code is on the site.
Use the microphone, please. Thank you. Hold right now.
And, yeah, within 200 feet is what the requirement is. It happens to be within 200 feet.
I can't hear you. Can you say it louder? I can hear you. Turn it all the time.
Okay. The restroom facilities would need to be within 200 feet.
They have to be within 200 feet, Nancy.
Okay.
The crow flies? I mean, seriously, is that as the crow flies? I mean, because if you're out on the point, it's 100 feet walk to where the Marlin Tuna Club, and then another 200 feet across the park.
Mr. Burns said he would have bathrooms there if that's permitted.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, I said Mr. Burton has committed, provided it's consistent with DEP requirements, and if this board wants to have bathrooms in that area, the pavilion area
Well, you say it didn't permit it by DEP, but we're saying they're required to be within 200 feet, so you would have to be within.
Yeah, I don't know, if it's currently within Craig would know better than I, but whether it is or it is not, if it isn't, we thought we had to add it, but if it is, we would be prepared to add a bathroom up there, even though it might be within 200 feet.
The boat storage plan, is there an actual boat storage plan? And I know it's gotten talked about, if we're looking at parking lot B in September, and I'm leaving and I'm saying I want you to pull my boat, you're putting it in lot B?
So we would fill in back, actually in lot B first. The bigger boats go back here and work their way out. And basically this area here is a lot tighter than what they are now. This would be the infill area. This would allow us to have this as an extra parking spot for the hotel as well. During September, October.
And do a lot of people pull their boats in September and October? Like, do you think the hotel's gonna be full in September?
Not in our experience, a lot of them it's scheduled. So they may say full boat September, we may not get to it until November 1st. It's just, that's just the process.
And you might have to do that if the hotel's full.
Exactly.
I have one question about the Marlin Tuna Club and their events, the 5 events that they're allowed to have and use your parking lot. How long are these events? Are they a day, a week?
So Franny might be better to know that. France, you want to answer to the water club? The time of the event, usually they're done.
There must be tournaments, but I don't know how long these tournaments last.
The main tournament is the Marlin Tuna tournament, and that is, I must say 4-day process. The boats go out 2 out of the 4 days.
Now, are these boats that come in from around, or are these boats local?
Majority of them are local. I think last year they had maybe 40 boats in the pool. A lot of them are summer leases from us.
So what do they,
Sure.
why would they use your parking? Why would, I don't understand. If
They have
use
a
it-
award ceremony on Sunday.
Oh, then that would be in the parking lot.
Yes. Not in the parking lot. That's at their facility, but their overflow parking.
Would be in the, and how many people normally are we talking? 200, 300? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. There was 40 boats, so
Mm.
maybe 4 people vote, 5 people vote, plus some family.
And you have 5 of these events a year?
We do not have that. More on Tuna Club.
That's what I mean, Mom, too.
That's the big, the other ones are the other.
They're just for a day.
Saturday.
The shared parking on Pennsylvania Avenue, where some of it's the town's and some of it's, whose responsibility is that? Is that the town's responsibility to maintain that? Or is that?
I think legally that's something we have to work out because, as the chairperson said, it can't be both people's responsibility for liability purposes. So I think Chris is amenable to any solution as long as only one person has responsibility for it. But you're amenable to any solution to that, whether it, yeah. But we just, the one department has only one person to be responsible.
I recommend that Mr. Vernon be responsible.
The other one.
Another question, there's a shower restroom existing now, is that gone?
Yes, that's for you.
I'm a little curious about the sidewalk, just because I've sat in a lot of meetings where we're making residents put in sidewalks, and now I'm just thinking, I bike to the Marlin and Tuna Club, you know what I mean? Or we walk, just because you can't get around, so I'm just saying, where's the pedestrian-friendly way to get to the Marlin and Tuna Club?
Down the middle of the street like everybody else.
I mean, I'm just saying, when everybody, we're asking homeowners to do this, but we're not, is it not possible? I mean, I'm just trying to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. If there's an opportunity.
Seems it's a sidewalk or a parking space. Okay. Your choice.
I would say if the board wants to require it, they could ask Mr. Vernon to install sidewalks on the east side of Pennsylvania Avenue as an off-track improvement for pedestrian safety. It would have to be coordinated, but it would be in the public right of way. And certainly that's something that could be
You're the
required
engineer.
as the, I think you should require it based on the comments I'm hearing. If people are biking or walking to the Marlin Tuna Club, we're not talking a lot of money here, but it would be appropriate, given the fact we have cars parked in our right of way on the west side, to have sidewalk installed on the east side.
Yeah, because we have a sidewalk right here, but I'm just trying to make it continuous.
Yeah, and that's something the board can condition any approval on. Something else that had come up, thinking about the traffic patterns and the truck traffic. I know Dock Road's used by possibly other restaurants. It's narrow, and so possibly a condition would be that none of your truck traffic can use Dock Road to access the hotel. Just because we probably recognize it's a narrow street, and in your plan for deliveries of...
Quiet, please.
I'm sure you can restrict it to other streets and possibly not use Dock Road for truck traffic.
Isn't Dock Road already manufactured very bad?
It may be, and that's why I'm concerned that there's other deliveries occurring on that street. If we start running more trucks down, it's relatively narrow. Once you get past the first block, it's mostly residences.
Right. The other concern, I think, we have, if someone's coming down Dock Road, they go to Burger Betty's and then they want to come to us. They say-
Well, let me say this, you're right. A lot of these deliveries are probably going to the same restaurants.
Right.
If you have other deliveries that aren't going to them,
Yeah.
certainly,
Yeah.
they should not go down Dock Road. But if the
Right.
same truck is heading down Dock Road to deliver there and has to come around the corner, how do you stop that?
Right, okay.
Right. Are you saying that the sidewalk should be on the western side of
East, on the eastern side of Pennsylvania.
And between Lot B and the 90-degree spaces in Pennsylvania Avenue too?
Yes, anywhere we can get the sidewalk in there, you know, coming down Third Street and up Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, from Second all the way down to the,
Yeah, now, I don't know, we have parking that's in the street, in parking lot B, that's similar to the parking on the north side, so I don't know how you would put a sidewalk in there if you're pulling cars.
there is a little bit of a gap in between those spaces facing each other, not like,
So you could fit a sidewalk on all the way from Second, all the way in.
correct.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes there's sidewalks that don't, most of the sidewalks.
You're gonna have to look at that. I mean, so. On the east side, between Second and Third Street, they're looking at a sidewalk. I mentioned from Third Street north, but you may be able to get another sidewalk in between the cars going from Second Street to Third Street. There's a gap in between the head-on parking area. And even if you made the sidewalk flush, you know, so that you could, you know, if you did have to move boats later off season, you could move the
But
cars.
I like your idea of helping people get to the wrong Tuesday, walking on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
The Frank's idea of putting it on the east side of Pennsylvania Avenue, so people walking to the Marlin Tuna have a sidewalk to walk on.
Right.
If they put it down south, across where the 20 places are, that doesn't help anybody walking to the Marlin Tuna. You're still walking in the street.
Now, we're talking about putting sidewalks on the entire east side, from Second Street all the way to the Marlin Tuna, as a condition of any approval. And you can fit Jim mentioned, you could probably fit a sidewalk in there between Second and Third Street also. So that would cover the entire east side of the frontage of the property.
That would be acceptable.
Any other questions? All done? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before I call my next witness, there are a couple of legal issues that I think are out there that will dictate how extensive the remaining testimony might be. The first is it's our understanding that the governing body has made a determination that with regard to certain issues, drainage, impervious coverage, they will be determined by CAFRA, and that there is no need to present any testimony with regard to CAFRA at this proceeding. Mr. Davis also said in the transcript the first night, the governing body has said CAFRA, you deal with it, referring to those issues. We do have a CAFRA expert here who can explain the process, but we certainly don't think we should repeat the very same evidence that we're going to be offering to CAFRA. So if the board wishes to hear about what that process is, we're happy to do that. That's the first issue.
Pardon?
Mr. Lakin mischaracterized my statement a little bit, and I want to make sure the record is clear. I think what the redevelopment plan does, it's vague and it's very uncharacteristic, but it either relegates the issues of impervious cover, density, and stormwater management to CAFRA, or it utilizes the CAFRA standards on those issues and rests it with this board to apply those standards to this project. Whatever the board decides to do, you'll be guided by your counsel, but under either circumstance, the CAFRA standards on those three issues are absolutely germane to this application, which is why I stated at the last meeting that this application should proceed to CAFRA before this board takes action on this site plan application.
If I could just respond, I did not mistake anything. The quote from Mr. Davis is, the governing body has said, CAFRA, you deal with it. So no one ever argued that this board has to determine these types of issues.
Well, has the board received my letter, Mr. Kent?
No, the board does not.
Okay.
More importantly,
It's in my letter.
this board is not qualified to decide CAFRA issues. That's why CAFRA exists. So the question here is, does the applicant want to explain how CAFRA works? And I think that probably be very prudent idea to explain how it works. But this board is not qualified as a designer. Mr. Lillis is an engineer. He he's not qualified to answer CAFRA questions either. That's why CAFRA exists, and that's why there's CAFRA advocates first. So I think if the applicant's attorney wants to explain CAFRA, and you can disagree with me if you like, but my recommendation to the board is that we ask them to explain how CAFRA will work, so they understand how CAFRA will work. And whatever is decided by this board, understand, nothing's going to start construction until CAFRA is approved. That's a given. I think everybody understands that, or should understand that.
That was my understanding. So with that, I think Mr. Reagan will close the next witness. Actually, another issue, I don't know if you want to take it up now, is Mr. Davis indicated some need to provide testimony about fire safety. As I understand the way land use and uniform commercial code works, the board refers generally to the fire official for an opinion. And that opinion guides the board's determination. We do have a fire expert here. If the board wants to hear from him, the one issue I think he should testify about is the question you raised about getting fire protection equipment in the back. And if that's the only thing the board, if the board is content to rely upon its own fire official, that's the only evidence that individual would supply.
It's a question for the board, it's actually more factual. Traditionally, the borough fire inspector would take care of everything with the plans. If the board would like to hear from the expert, then
Well, I'm willing to hear. I'd like to get as much knowledge as I can.
Okay, then what I'd like to do is let Mr. Reagan, if you look to see what the CAFRA and I'll call the fire expert.
At this time, I'll call Karen Rapuzzo.
Karen Rapuzzo, GRUPPUSO, Coastal Environment Consulting, 508 Main Street, Scoopy, Township, New Jersey, 08733.
Ms. Rapuzzo, what is your relationship to this project?
I'm preparing the capital permit application.
Okay, would you first briefly state your qualifications to the board?
I'm an environmental consultant. I've been preparing CAFRA, Water for Development, and other DEP land use permit applications since the beginning of 2002 to 18 years. I have a degree in environmental science from Milner College.
And who's your current employer?
I'm self-employed coastal environmental consultant.
Excuse me, would you take the mic out and hold it in your hand? Yeah.
Okay.
Have you prepared CAFRA applications in Ocean County before?
Yes, I have.
And first, I think for the board, could you explain what CAFRA means?
CAFRA stands for Coastal Area Facility Review Act. It is one of the laws that the DEP Division of Land Use Regulation implements through the coastal zone management rules.
And what does the CAFRA process entail? It's a submission to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And what type of permit would be required for this project?
A CAFRA individual permit is required for the project.
And what does that process entail, the permit process?
A CAFRA application consists of an environmental impact statement and compliance statement, as well as public notices, including both certified mailings as well as legal ads. The public notice is required at the time of the application submittal to DEP in the form of a legal ad, as well as certified mailings to the municipal construction official, environmental commission and planning board, county planning board, and the soil conservation district. Following DEP's receipt of the application and their initial review to deem it administratively complete for review, a public comment period or a public hearing date will be set. At that time, there's additional public notice in the form of a legal ad again, as well as certified mailing to the offices I mentioned earlier, as well as all owners of property within 200 feet of the site.
The redevelopment plan in this project requires that the drainage and the impervious coverage and the Yeah, and density, thank you. Must adhere to CAFRA requirements. Is that a stringent review that CAFRA will undertake?
Yeah, DEP, or Department of Environmental Protection, they'll complete a rigorous review of the CAFRA application. It will require compliance with numerous policies of the coastal zone management rules, as well as CAFRA, Section 10 of CAFRA, the law itself.
Okay. I don't want to give you too much details. Mr. Shin said this board is not qualified to apply the CAFRA rules, but I just wanted the board to have a general sense of what the application process is all about. Are there questions from the board regarding?
One question. How long does that process usually take?
Typically, a CAFRA individual permit application review takes about 6 to 7 months.
Thank you.
The last witness being called is David Phelan.
You swear that testimony you're about to issue the truth?
Yes. First name is David, last name is spelled P-H-E-L-A-N. I'm an associate for Davis Code Concepts, which is located at 311 Camperdown Court, Easy, South Carolina.
Mr. Phelan, you have experience in fire code compliance.
So I have 25 years of public sector firefighting experience. Additionally, I've been working in fire construction code enforcement for approximately 24 years. I left the public sector firefighting end of things and went into private sector fire investigation and consulting work in 2015. Currently, in addition to my fire and construction code plan review and consulting work, I sit on 3 NFPA committees, 2 that are relevant to the project. One is the NFPA 38 committee, which is fuel dispensing, both land-based and marine, as well as alternative fuels, and also the NFPA 10 committee on federal fire extinguishers.
Let's break that down a little bit. You said 25 years as a firefighter. Where did you do that?
As in Bergen County, New Jersey.
And have you undertaken plan review for fire code compliance?
I have a total of 24 years in 5 different municipalities.
And approximately over the years, how many plans have you reviewed?
At present, in the one municipality, it's 1,500.
You referred to the acronym IFPA. Can you tell me what that means, please?
It's NFPA, that stands for the National Fire Protection Association. They're a code development organization handling all matters of fire and life safety in buildings, occupancies, fire protection, firefighting equipment.
And how is it that one gets selected to be on one of these committees?
You file an application, you list your credentials, and the board of directors essentially votes on what they perceive to be your suitability to participate.
And of these committees, how many individuals are on them?
The membership varies. The NFPA 10 committee is approximately 33 members right now, and the 38 committee is 27 at last count.
And in connection with your professional work, have you gained the ability to evaluate plans such as the hotel plan before this board to ascertain comply with fire code requirements?
So as part of my public sector work, I possess licensing to perform fire protection and building code plan review and inspections in all types of occupancies. There's different tiers to the licensing. I do hold the highest level, which is known as an HHS license.
And who is the issuer of the HHS license?
They're all issued by the Department of Community Affairs, State of New Jersey.
And for how long have you been licensed?
My first fire code license was issued in 1996 and remains current through this day.
And have you testified in civil and criminal matters with regards to fire safety issues?
So I've been called in connection with my public sector work in the criminal prosecution, fire investigation cases, as well as on the civil side now in my public sector, my private sector work. I've been admitted as an expert witness in both post-fire investigation as well as building and construction codes.
I know for this individual, Mr. Phelan, is an expert in fire code compliance.
I agree.
Thank you.
Mr. Phelan, I realize we weren't sure if your testimony would be required tonight, is that correct?
Yes.
Nonetheless, at my request, would you undertake a review of the hotel and restaurant plans and the marina plans that are before this board?
Yes, I performed a review of the plans as well as a visit to the site.
And did you also give consideration to some of the fire protection features that are in place at Hotel LBI?
Yes, I have.
And do you have an understanding as to whether or not those procedures, whether the owner is prepared to use those same procedures at this location?
That's correct. He's going to follow the, essentially, I'll say, the model of equipment and systems that were installed at the Hotel LBI into this project.
Now, before we get to the specific buildings, a question was raised about firefighting capability in the marina where a truck is unable to go. Can you tell the board how that type of situation generally dealt with?
So there's a couple alternatives when you have sites such as this where particularly boats, marinas, and even, I'll say, distant waterfront parking areas. You can do pre-pipe systems, which essentially position hydrants or fire department connections out at public roadways or driveway points that then would pump into the property to be supplying fire department hose streams. Similar to a building standpipe, except it's more horizontal in nature.
What is a standpipe?
Standpipe is simply again, typically vertical system to provide water to firefighting hose streams. Instead of having to advance a hose line from the apparatus out in front or out in the street, the fire department enters the building carrying a fold up or packed hose. They connect to the riser, typically in a stairwell, and they would advance then from that point horizontally onto the fire.
You know, there are other alternatives that you've explored.
I also looked at wheeled unit, portable fire extinguishers, dry chemical-based wheeled portable units, and their suitability given that it's a marine environment and also an outdoor environment. There is some merit to their application, and the owner has already agreed to utilize the technology, certainly to protect the north end parking area just outside the Marlin Club, and then the ability to add those to the finger piers that exist now along the site.
Now, did you make an assessment as to whether, actually, an evaluation of the fire protection features incorporated into the hotel?
Yes.
And can you describe to the board what that process consisted of, what you did to make the assessment?
So basically, the design of the fire protection systems in the hotel, in any building, but in the hotel in this case, come directly out of the uniform construction code. A residential occupancy, such as a hotel, is required by nature to have fire sprinkler systems. Given the vertical size of the building, it also is required to have a standpipe system to facilitate fire department interior operations to attack the fire. Differing from, say, an office building of similar size, the compartmentalized nature of a hotel occupancy, the individual guest rooms, the suites, are separately constructed with fire resistance ratings with the intention of confining the fire to the room or area of origin.
And if you were starting from the base of the hotel or parking area upward, can you explain to the board what the fire protection features are built into the structure itself?
So the grade level is a one-story fire-resistant construction that's generally concrete, protected steel that provides a platform or pedestal upon which the rest of the building is built and framed above. In this case, it's a parking structure or used for parking. Above that then sits the framed portion of the hotel.
Now, the alarm system, you described the what's proposed for that.
So the minimum requirement for a hotel or motel occupancy within the guest rooms is what's known as a single station smoke alarm. Very typically found in probably most of your homes, hardwired in this case, as opposed to battery only. And its intended purpose is to sound when the problem exists in a given sleeping room to alert the occupants thereof. That represents the minimum requirement of the code. Mr. Vernon on the Hotel LBI project, and he's intended to do on this, is to kind of go a little bit further and do a supervised smoke detection system throughout the entire building. And what that essentially does is the smoke detectors in the guest rooms are connected to a central communication panel. And in the event of a fire in a given room, it sounds directly with the room number, as opposed to hearing an alarm sounding and kind of having to hunt your way through the building or floor looking for where the problem is. Another advantage that type of system offers really goes to the behavior of the occupants, and that is in the single station environment. If a guest was to disable or remove a smoke alarm, generally nobody would know it until after checkout and the cleaning staff came through and noticed a hole in the wall. In the supervised environment, the moment the smoke detector is removed from the wall, it sends a different type of signal indicating problem to the front desk to alert them to the fact that somebody in a given room has just removed the smoke detector, and naturally they will go investigate that. So it has an enhancement to the code minimum.
Now, does the shape of the hotel along Second Street, is that relevant to your assessment of fire safety here?
So when you look at a building and how it sits on a piece of property and how it sits relative to buildings, what you're really looking at is what's known as access time. Access time is the portion of fire department response time that starts from when the apparatus arrives in front of the building to when the responders are actually able to make access to the problem area, whether it be a fire in a closet or in the event of a medical emergency, anything that requires an emergency response. How quickly can they get to that building or to that point within the building? And by virtue of how the building is positioned along the public street, they have very good access for the entire length, the frontage of the building. And there are 3 different points along that in which they can enter the building without having to more or less run around the building.
Now, the fire official made a recommendation to Mr. Vernon about putting a pipe so you can draw out of the bay, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that something that you think would be prudent?
I see that as something that more communities should consider because it represents essentially a limited source of water in the event of large event or even interruption of the public supply. There's a contingency plan there. I would actually go as far as to say that once it's installed by Mr. Vernon, that it be transitioned in some manner back to the community, because it really should serve the community itself, not just a fire on this particular property.
Now, with regard to the restaurant, did you make a similar assessment as to the fire safety features incorporated to that design?
I did that as well, yes.
And can you tell the board what you reviewed in order to make that assessment?
So similarly, when you're looking at the building, you're looking at the access time, you're looking at your ability to arrive and enter the building. And again, by virtue of its position, basically on the public street, we've diminished that. There's a couple of things that the site improvement we're proposing to do to further facilitate that. One is creating parallel parking along the curb. It doesn't sound like much, but parallel parking as opposed to straight on or angled parking reduces the time and distance by which responders have to carry their equipment between parked vehicles. Right? When you consider the length of a vehicle, if it's parked head-on or angled, it's very difficult to transition through that narrow space, particularly carrying hose or ladders. When the vehicles are parallel parked, it is a short, straight run in line with the building, and it facilitates movement of personnel and equipment in and out of that general area. So that's one of the advantages. The other thing is that there's intent, at least, and the cooperation of utility will be necessary to remove the existing telephone poles. There's 4 of them on 2nd Street between Pennsylvania and the dead end that run overhead wires along that side of the street. And that poses a limitation to laddering operations and general fire department operations at the building. So the removal of the poles and the transition to underground wiring for the site lighting, or the street lighting, I should say, it will certainly enhance the overall picture here.
Now, I neglected to ask you, with regard to the hotel, are there any features incorporated into the elevator design in order to enhance occupant safety?
So the elevators, at least one of them have to be sized to accommodate a full-size ambulance stretcher laying in a flat or prone position so that emergency workers can move a person quickly and efficiently in a horizontal and vertical manner. The elevators will be equipped with standard, I'll say, or typical fire service features, which allow the fire department to take manual control of an elevator and continue to use it during an emergency if they so desire to move personnel and equipment.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of certainty, if that's your understanding in your profession, as to whether or not this building as designed and proposed to be built will comply with the Jersey Fire Codes?
Well, the building has to comply with the Uniform Construction Code, both in fire and life safety. There's really no wiggle room for that. The community has existing personnel in place to make sure that it is indeed constructed according to code. So I see no barriers for that compliance, and in fact, where opportunity exists, Mr. Vernon has already indicated a willingness to enhance the minimum levels required by those codes.
I don't have any other
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions now?
I didn't know if you had any thought process. I mean, the standpipes are understandable, especially draft point standpipe.
Yes, sir.
All the way throughout the whole property would be a great advantage, the whole area.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, what my thought was, is in the actual marina side by the hotel, if there should be a fire, that's a long stretch of hose that you gotta get to one side to the other.
Yeah,
So there's 3 access points?
So the 3 access points for the hose stretch, and we're going to use roughly 85 foot as the hose stretch number, assuming the fire truck is able to position directly outside of the parallel parking lane. It's approximately 85 foot hose stretch to go from the curb of Second to the edge of the bulkhead where the water line starts essentially. The 3 points of access would be under the breezeway at the far west end. That is a 24-foot clear width by 14-foot clear height point of entry. I know there's been a modeling done already for an emergency vehicle through there. The height does meet and actually slightly exceed the fire code and federal minimum, which is 13'6". The second point is roughly in the center of the hotel. It's sometimes known as the throat of the building because it's shaped like an H. That's a open, it's in, I should say, enclosed glass vestibule, but it has openings on both sides. So the doors could be open and creating a 6-foot wide passage directly from 2nd Street straight through to the back. So you've roughly divided the length of the building now in half. And then at the far east end, between the check-in building, the ship store, and the greenery area, there is a pathway as well that you can come out at the corner of where the marina L's there next to the swimming pool.
So I will admit that I did not think about transgressing the building through the access ways. As if any room was on fire, I certainly wouldn't want to run underneath it.
Right.
So that's what I was.
Yeah, and another nice feature, if you will, is that because of the visibility that was discussed earlier, there are these overhead garage doors that I'll say maybe half to 2/3 of the year will naturally be kept open for visibility and weather conditions. Those represent avenues of personnel and equipment movement as well. In the off-season or the bitter cold, when they're closed, they could always still be opened by staff and marina workers to assist the responders. So there's a good number of opportunities to move personnel and equipment into the rear of the hotel. If it was me, I'd be looking at a thief operation where we stretch into the back with a gated wide to operate 2 lines off of that. It's a good opportunity to immediately put 2 lines in operation to a 1-line hose drag.
Did you have any thoughts on the amount of people that are going to be in the hotel for emergency egress? So the rooftop has got 200 people. I understand that the stair towers have ample space to provide egress.
With capacity, yes.
With capacity, so everybody's exiting at the same time, not to get someone trips and falls and disabling the whole tower.
Yeah, and that's certainly a known issue, certainly coming out of tall buildings and such. One of the again, nice advantages of this kind of configuration where you're built on the opening pedestal below is that when those stair towers discharge at grade level, you have a very large and diverse dispersal area. People are not cattle run in a certain direction. If you're exiting out of the restaurant and you come down the stair tower in the rear, you have the ability to travel immediately eastward across the bulkhead and across the front of the hotel, as well as coming straight south into the parking area. So you're not sending the bulk of your occupants directly into the street at the same time that the apparatus is trying to get themselves close. We have some good dispersal options here to move people freely, I'll say left and right, east and west from the building, as opposed to typically just dumping them into the street. And at the same time, everyone's converging, jockeying for a good position.
Thank you.
I did want to answer a question that was asked a few moments ago. There was a question about the number of barrier-free rooms within the hotel. I did some quick look in the code book there. A 102-unit hotel has to have a minimum of 7 barrier-free compliant guest rooms. They break out into 2 categories, 2 with a roll-in shower and a minimum of 5 without roll-in showers, but still having the other accessible features. That somewhat dovetails into the fire code requirement for a hotel with 102 rooms to have at least 12 rooms which provide visual signaling for occupants that may be hearing impaired. So generally what you see in a hotel environment like this, we have 2 overlapping code requirements. One is for 7 rooms to be barrier-free, and the other is for 12 to have visual signaling. Generally, the 7 rooms have visual signaling, plus 5 others are selected to have visual signaling. So if a person checks in and they announce that they have a hearing problem or a hearing deficiency, they could request one of the other rooms that has visual signaling, even though they don't necessarily need a full-on wheelchair accessible room, roll-in shower, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Phelan, I would like to ask you, you explained to the board what your experience is in dealing with ADA compliance, American with Disability Act compliance.
So through my work in the construction code under building and fire licenses, we enforce what's known as the barrier-free subcode, adopts an ANSI A117 standard, which is different than the ADA, the Federal American with Disabilities Act. However, it is accepted as equivalent. It's more or less the same, just leave it with that. But there are requirements within those codes to address accessibility of features, accessibility to buildings, and certainly on the fire side to ensure that emergency signaling, fire evacuation, carbon monoxide events are enunciated properly to people that have both visual and hearing impairments.
And do you have experience in applying that code?
I do, yes, that's what I would have done that.
And then for what municipalities have you done that over what period of time? Over what period of time?
So I started working in public sector fire code enforcement in '96 in Burgerfield, New Jersey, and then moved one town north into Dumont, New Jersey. Stayed there until 2005. For approximately the next year, I worked in Fair Lawn, Bergen County, and then from 2006 onward, I've been working in Hudson County.
And that work included compliance with various codes that deal with protection of data. Is that right?
To the extent of, yeah, whatever my responsibility, generally fire and life safety.
I don't have any other questions.
One more.
Yes, sir.
You have any expertise in radio frequency?
So, believe it or not, on top of everything else,
I figured you would.
I've been working in public sector, public safety radio systems since before any of this. That was just the thing I wanted to know more about. And I've gained a tremendous exposure to in-building radio systems since they became required under the 2009 building code. I've either supervised the installation of or inspected probably a dozen of them. And certainly understand that to be one of the elements that would be applicable to this project, if indeed the physical construction yielded deficiency in coverage. I'll say that's one of the misconceptions of the in-building radio coverage requirement in the code. Essentially what the code says is that a public safety, and it's not just fire, even though the fire code official may be enforcing it, it's police, fire, and EMS radio systems have to work within the building to an acceptable signal strength percentage, providing that signal strength exists in the street at the site. So if you happen to be in an area of town where there's no coverage just because of topography and such, that's going to be a bit of a problem going into the building. So there's in-building enhancement work that could be done. I'll use the other facility as an example. The chip bottom facility was constructed. The existing surrounding streets, which is the known dead zone between the two ends of the community, the fire department knew it, and obviously the building didn't make it any better. So we are in the process of finishing the installation of a new building radio system that actually covers the physical structure, the enclosing structure, as well as provides coverage into the surrounding street. Just to kind of, bump up the level of service to the building.
So, given your knowledge of the building and how it's constructed, do you feel that there's any kind of issues that might arise from the metal and steel?
So here's an answer that's going to sound like a non-answer, but it's what I can do right now. Is if you could tell me, or the fire or EMS could tell me, we already have a problem at the bottom of 2nd and 3rd in Pennsylvania, in and around the marina. If you already had a problem communicating there, it's not going to get better because we built this, but it will get better because we have to solve a problem within our facility. So obviously, I have expressed this to council. I have some follow-up questions for the fire company that I'd like to eventually get with them and discuss more specifics, because some other code things will come into question, such as P-box access, location firewall enunciators. We actually have a potential, I'll say, as the marina develops and gets improved, to install remote safety communication equipment, so that if there was a guest or person in a slip and they had an emergency but didn't have a cell phone, which seems kind of far-fetched, but then again, it could happen. If you're familiar with the concept of ERS box, emergency response box, which is a voice system where you essentially push the button, you see them a lot on college campuses, airports and such. You can summon help from these more remote areas. So you're not just going to pay for it. I would like to move into evidence the various exhibits we offered previously in the hearing. I thought we had several on all.
Do I have a motion to accept them?
Mayor Davis? Mr. Taxis?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Pisano?
Yes.
Mr. Meadow?
Yes.
Mr. Luhan? Yes. Mrs. Edel's? Mr. Jennett? Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter? Mrs. Lenhart?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, there's no further evidence at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Well, it is 9:23. Mr. Vernon? Mr. Vernon, you have one last question.
Last week I asked a question to get a scale model of this project, and they couldn't answer because you weren't here. Would you be able to get us a scale model?
So the presentations we brought forward, conceptual, is what we were able to come up with. We tried to source out a scale model companies, but the lead time that needed to be done and the project was still in movement was not realistic or feasible to provide in order for this meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Everybody, before you leave, just a second, please. We're going to stop the meeting at 9 o'clock to carry over since it's a break. The next meeting will be
the surf line?
You can be heard on that, the Beach Haven Land Use Board meets the first Monday of the month, and that's been published. I think we're changing the venue and time because of the accommodations here for other people. So we're going to have it at Surf Lake, I believe the address is 201 Ambleside. There's a Surf Lake there, 6 o'clock on the 6th. Council has a conflict, but we told all the professionals they have to be available for cross-examination.
So it's more than a conflict, Mr. Chair, and I'm only advising the board of this because apparently my letter that I wrote to Mr. Shin was not distributed to the rest of the board. I have another client who has an application that was on the agenda tonight in the borough of Stone Harbor in Cape May County. I had 2 previous applications with the same client where there were denials or going back and revised plan of development. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but my client has said that they want me at the hearing. So I had an adjournment made tonight, but they meet the first Monday of the month as well in Stone Harbor, and the next meeting date is April 6th. And I asked respectfully to see if the board would either accommodate the special meeting, which in my experience, having been in Mr. Lakin's shoes and having an objections counsel on the other side, is something that has been routinely granted by boards as an accommodation, given the fact that my clients have invested significant sums of my time and effort with respect to this application for development, or alternatively carry the application to the first Monday in May. And that's my request. And I'd like the board to rule on it.
May I be heard on that? We would oppose carrying the meeting beyond April. If there's a special meeting and we can accommodate council, that would be acceptable. The problem we have is twofold. Number one, our contract is in its extension period, and we owe it to the Enuses to bring this to a conclusion. Number two, everybody knew when this matter began that it wasn't going to be resolved in 2-3 weeks. And I think, or 2-3 meetings, it was incumbent upon council when he took another matter to explain that this case was going to be going on the first Monday for several months. In my office, we could always send somebody else. I suspect council's office is no different than my own, and it's critical that we proceed because we have certain contractual obligations to get this done.
Well, when I took this representation in 2017, I never imagined I'd be here tonight to be chair, but here I am. So I did not know when I underwent this representation of this client.
And all of your professionals will be available.
They will.
So the next meeting, what's the board change it?
Excuse me, I'd like to speak to. I came all the way down here to the January meeting, which Mr. Reagan at that meeting canceled. So you had one meeting because you canceled.
No,
that is true. That is true. No.
Actually, the January meeting was canceled by the fire marshal. We were over capacity.
All right, well, it was the next meeting after that, the December meeting, Mr. Reagan canceled the meeting. He said, we just got the letter from the engineer, we don't want to address it tonight. And there wasn't any other experts there or anything. All the people came down, all the public came down because no one was notified, because there's no way to notify anything. That's unacceptable. And now you're trying to limit people's time away from 250 feet of the property, which is also an objection. And that's not allowed. No one will accept that. Michael Russo, 111 North Pennsylvania Avenue. And one other thing, Mr. Vernon had a meeting a year ago at his facility off from Mallard Island, and he made some proposals. And everybody at the meeting said, we don't like this high monstrosity, so let's go with the lower version. And he's just trying to maximize his profit, and that's not acceptable.
If I might, the reason the meeting was canceled, as I recall, one of the objectors called the fire marshal. Fire marshal came and canceled the meeting. We wanted to go forward. It certainly wasn't canceled at our behest.
I complain in Florida and Maine. If I treat people
All
like
right.
you treat people,
Sir.
it's unacceptable.
Sir, thank you.
It's unacceptable.
You've expressed your
The meeting was
opinion,
canceled
thank
December for no
you. You
reason.
have expressed your opinion, thank you.
So the question for the board is we're going to go forward on April 6th, or we can maybe make.
Bye-bye.
We're going to special.
There's already, just so everybody's aware, right now, the board has other businesses backing up, so there's going to be another meeting of the Beach Haven Land Use Board tomorrow night. There's already going to be 2 meetings for the month. So I don't think the board wants to do a third meeting in April.
Because tomorrow I'm having another meeting for other applicants. I'm gonna have to have another meeting in April anyway, so why not just do flip-flop dates? So Monday, April 1st will be the regular meeting on your other applicants. Tuesday, we can hear those.
We have to announce tonight.
I understand, but that's what I'm just trying to say, like, that's something you guys want to do.
You can actually.
Maybe a problem, excuse me.
The venue can be available on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that first week, doesn't matter, and pretty much all the next week as well.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, as long as the,
All right. Mr. Lakin?
as long as you're professionals, as you told us all along, we've always had meetings the first Monday. All of your professionals have to be available, because when we open this to the public, if the council has a question, or anybody in this audience has a question of any of your professionals, they have to be at that meeting. So if we change the meeting from,
Monday to Tuesday.
April
7.
6 to April 7, your professionals be available.
Can I have just 1 minute to speak to them, just to make sure?
Well, how many of the board can do that? That's the other thing. We need to survey the board who can do Tuesday. All right, raise your hand if you can do Tuesday on the board. No, we won't. Who else cannot do Tuesday? Ken and Joe cannot do Tuesday. Right, can do it. Right, I thought you just said Joe couldn't do it. You can do it. Okay, so Ken is the only one that cannot.
The only witness that would be a little bit late is Mr. Phelan, the last gentleman that testified. He was 7:30 on April 7th. But everyone else can be there.
Mr. Davis?
I appreciate your accommodations. That works for me on April 7th, if it works for the board.
Please don't leave yet. Please hold on just 2 minutes, please.
I understand your situation. This represents to me probably 90 hours worth of my work. I volunteer. I'm not getting paid by anybody. I've been doing this forever. I can't make Tuesdays. I have babysitting required by my grandkids.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there anybody else in your office that can represent you Monday night?
I thought
I mean,
so,
this is
and I
a-
conveyed that message to my clients, but this is what I'm getting back. And just as I have a lot of history with respect to this application, I have the same with respect to this other one, which had multiple appearances
But is
before the same
that,
board.
I mean, but is that the board's fault? Is that our fault? Do we have to do the burden of this because of the situation of your clients? The rest of us have to change everything? Everything was scheduled for the 6th. We had the first Monday of every month. And now we're being asked to change again and flip-flop.
As a matter of due process, that was my request. I'm asking the board. It's in your discretion, but that's what I'm asking for.
I would prefer to have it on the 6th. I mean, I'm gonna have to run back here from University of Pennsylvania Hospital with my wife to get here on the 7th. I don't want to do that. I mean, I would rather we have a schedule, it's the 6th. Right now, we're attending 2 meetings a month. We're meeting tomorrow again. I think we keep the schedule as originally intended. So I would much prefer to just keep it on the 6th.
All right, can I have a motion for keeping the meeting on the 6th? And do a vote from the board.
I make a motion to keep it on the 6th.
Do I have a second?
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Katsas?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Pizzano?
Yes.
Mr. Meadow?
Yes.
Mr. Luha?
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles? Mr. Jenna?
Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter? Mrs. Lamhart?
Yes.
Staying on the trip.
Before anybody leaves, the next meeting for this application will be on April 6, 2020 at the Surf Lake Theater. Thank you, Mr. Steiner, for that. And there will be no further notices required by the applicant. Although since we're changing our venue again, I think our secretary will send a notice out, or at least publish. 6 p.m. Thank you.
May I ask one more request? All the exhibits, I see they're in digital format. Can you provide them to me before the end of the week?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.